5, 4, 3.
Aye, aye, mateys.
No, absolutely not. Wait, I throw my camera in the bag. I'll have a part of that.
Hi, everyone. So the past few videos have been the start of a project called Operation Just F***ing Sail Already. The engine work is the first part of that project, and then we're going to move on to a few other areas on the boat. But tonight I'm going to continue the project I started last week with the engine mounts, except tonight I'm going to move on to the propeller shaft and the shaft coupling. First off, I would like to make a little redaction. In the last episode, I showed myself lifting the engine by putting the 2x4s on top of 2 pairs of cinder blocks. But my friend Jim, who is my coworker, was watching the video, and he pulled me aside when I was at work, and he said, "Great video, Sarah, but I just wanted to tell you something." He's lifted around 200 engines in his life and owned just about that many cars, and he knows that cinder blocks are not the safest way to raise an engine mounting beam, because although they are very strong, and I looked up the load rating before I bought them and it was over 1,000 pounds, they are also quite brittle, and there have been instances of when a cinder block has crumbled, and that would be a total disaster. And he said he did know somebody once who that actually happened to. So instead, he recommended that I get these jack stands. I got at the local auto parts store, and they have a 8,000 pound capacity, and I'm going to make a few modifications now to my 2x4s in order to get them securely attached to the ratcheting parts of these jack stands. What I'm going to do, I have 4 square bolts here, long square bolts, and if you can see the shape of these jack stands, let me turn it a little bit. I'm going to drill holes in the beams like right here and right here, so that ultimately the square bolts are gonna sit, these are gonna push real tight right up against those, so this one has to stay right, this has to stay in place. And you also might have noticed that my 2x4s have turned 90 degrees. And the reason for this is because a few friends told me that they are stronger this way. They are stronger when the joint is vertical instead of horizontal. Okay, now that these are free, I'm going to move onto the boat to make sure I get the placement of the jacks and everything okay before I put the U-bolts in, because that's going to make them have to be at a certain spacing apart from then on. I really hope the idea I have is actually a good idea. What I'm thinking is I want to put a little notch here and a little notch there, just to get it to like fit right into the groove. I'm gonna cut some notches in those wood boards with a hammer and a chisel. Oh! No. I need to chisel this way first against the grain so that it cuts it off from this part so that it won't like split the grain when I'm doing that. So here, let's go this way first.
Did you?
Yeah, I broke a drill bit. Screwing the drill the wrong way. Look at it, all together now, ready to be lifted. I think I might have enough redundancy because I may have to go under the engine, and I have 3 different lines that are now totally independent of the come along, so that if the come along were to fail, all 3 of these lines would be holding the engine pretty much up to where it is now, because they just go directly from the engine to the 2x4s. So that definitely makes me feel better. So the problem with the shaft coupling in the first place is that it slid out of the shaft slid out of the coupling when I was docking, because the previous owner, when he installed it, there's a couple set screws that go into indentations in the shaft that must have been loose or something. He probably didn't put enough Loctite on it, so the shaft was like it's supposed to be like so far up in the coupling, and it slid out, it slid back until it just totally slid out, and I couldn't steer or maneuver the boat. So that's what I'm trying to fix, and to make sure that it's different this time, I'm gonna have to line up those set screws with the indentations. I'm going to use some kind of glow-in-the-dark marker to make sure I can actually see where the indentations are coming through. I'm going to tighten those set screws down using Loctite, and I'm also going to put some Loctite around that entire part of the shaft to keep it locked. I mean, it's kind of like Loctite is kind of like a glue for threads and stuff, that it stays until you get it to a really, really high temperature. I'm talking a temperature much higher than any friction that's generated by an engine like mine. I'm taping this hammer because I am going to hammer on the stainless steel propeller shaft coupling, and it's not good to use a hard steel like a ball peen hammer directly to do that because it can deform the metal of the thing it's hammering. So it's always good to use either a weaker metal, like some brass, hammer onto it, put a piece of brass stock and hammer onto that, or to use a rubber mallet, which I've looked everywhere for tonight and was unable to find. By the way, see my how to and not to install jib grommets and hanks video for my experiences with trying to locate and use a rubber mallet, and the problems that resulted from not using a rubber mallet for installing sail grommets. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Oh good, it does fit. I just wasn't aiming right and it wasn't getting in. I am unscrewing the set screw from the transmission couple, or for the propeller shaft coupling, using a hex key. You can see the hex key here. This is a set screw. I'm unscrewing it. So this way I can hammer the coupling where it should be. You can see the indentations right here, and then the screw holes here, and when the shaft slid back, so this is where, under the hole is where this indentation is supposed to be. So to get it on there, I have to hammer this coupling back. So I'm gonna try my best for tonight to do that. I made a little red mark so that I can see if I'm making any progress at all whatsoever. And so far the red mark is still where it was. I'm really not getting enough leverage at all. I think I'm gonna have to go under. I'm really getting close to flush with the edge of it, I think. And that damn woodruff key keeps sliding out. I gotta get that thing back in there. I am tightening this zinc because I don't want the shaft, when I hammer the shaft, I don't want it to get pushed back any farther than this, because the coupling, the edge of this coupling here, this is going to run into this nice bronze fuel fill fitting to the keel tank, and that would be really bad to damage that by getting it chunked into with a piece of metal. So this goes up against the shaft packing gland here, shaft seal, and we'll keep it from moving back. I don't know how this happened, but somehow the shaft got hammered too far up. And this is so bizarre. This is so bizarre because I remember, I remember when I was hammering it, like it was still back behind it. It wasn't flush with the coupling. So I don't know what could have happened between the last time I looked at it and now when it's too far hammered forward, because I haven't touched it with a hammer since then. But I guess now I have to hammer from the back to get it to go in the other direction. That's really working. I bet when I get it flush, I will see the, there's that indentation right there. Oh wow, it's moving so freely. Look, when I move it up like that, you can see the indentation come right there. See? You can see the edge of it coming right there. I think that's the right place for it to be. Let's turn it over and make sure the other one is also in the right place. I know we really got it. It looks like it's also in the right place. Could it be that we're ready to put the set screws in? That would be amazing. Let's make sure the zinc is tight so we don't have to do this all over again. So now I think that the next thing to do is get a Q-tip and clean as much grease as possible out of the set screw hole so that I can put the set screws in with the Loctite now that I've got it totally lined up. Get some Q-tips. Sorry. It's a cool shot though. I'm talking and ruining it though. Whatever. As you can see, the sky is getting bright. It's that early. It's like 4:30 in the morning. I've been working all night. 8 to 4, over 8 hours. And now I'm going to use the Q-tips to clean out those holes, the set screw holes, so that I can put them in with the Loctite. I think there's some grease in there. Oh yeah, look at that, all that grease. Good thing I'm doing that. Might need more Q-tips. The thing said leave the first third clear and only need to apply 3/4 of a turn. Well, it's almost 6 o'clock a.m. and it's really nice to stay up all night sometimes because you get to see a part of the day that you never get to see. and it's kind of refreshing. Makes you feel like you're seeing all aspects of life. So I don't feel bad about this at all. I'm gonna sleep later, but I feel great. Real quick before I say goodbye, I just wanted to give a shout out to all of my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. You're making this channel possible, and expect a little bit of bonus content this week. I'm gonna go on a real secret adventure that only you guys are gonna know about. So check in for that on Patreon. I've got that coupling really glued on there, and I better have it where I want it because it's never going anywhere again. But you know, it's lined up with the set screw indentations, so it goes where it is. That's where it goes. So I don't see why I would ever want it to move again. But next week, I think I'm going to be rerouting my fuel hoses from the keel tank with water contaminated and algae contaminated diesel to the new 20-gallon below deck day tank that I have installed into the stern lazarette, which will get me much closer to the day that I can start my engine and get off this dock in operation. Just f***ing sail already. See you next week.